Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thanks for joining this session on DevOps to DevSecOps, Accelerate through Orchestration and Correlation. I have with me Andy Zulanov. He's board member and CRO at Mavericks.ai, which is a product company who has created this tool, which Gartner now calls it ASOC tool, which is Application Security Orchestration and Correlation. And I am Niladri Chaudhary, CEO of Excellentro and the chief organizer for DevOps India Summit. This is an initiative as part of a service that we have launched with Mavericks and other partners, which is called Playground. So as people says that, like kids, we go to a playground to play with toys, with swings and all. So this service is basically for that, where people can come and try out things, learn through experimentation. And one such thing that you will be able to learn is ASOC, which we are doing it with the help of Mavericks. So let me set the context. So what is DevSecOps and why it is required? So if you look at as per IBM, what it says, DevSecOps is the short for Development, Security and Operations, automates the integration of security at every phase of the software development lifecycle, from the initial design through integration, testing, deployment, and software delivery. DevSecOps represents a natural and necessary evolution in the way development organizations approach security. In the past, security was tacked on to software at the end of the development lifecycle, almost as an afterthought by a separate security team, and was tested by separate quality assurance team. But today, if you look at it, we are delivering so fast. I mean, not necessarily that everyone is like Netflix, where you have 88,000 releases per day. But even if we are going for a 10 release per week or a 10 release per day, we are quite fast than having one release at the end of a quarter or 6 months. So we do not have time for security to be a roadblocker, a bottleneck at the end of the work. Security also has to support and work together along with the rest of the team for faster delivery. It's everybody's shared responsibility to deliver stable software, secure software, faster. That is what everybody's role is, not to stop deployments from going, but have more deployments to go, which are secure. So that's how we are going to look at it. And you know that today security is at the top of mind of every CEO and CIO. And as Mark Hornbeck mentions, some of the consequences of security attacks are like loss of sensitive data or proprietary information, which is the most important one. Because today, most of the hacks are for data. And as somebody had said, data is the new oil. I mean, he said something else, which I'll cut it out from here. But yes, data is the new oil. Now, disruption to regular operations. Now, that is, again, another thing that is there. We have to, whenever we are doing things, we are having our work planned in a particular way and we are generating the value. But when something bad happens, when a hacker hacks, there is disruption. And you know that every minute is a loss of business. Somebody recently had posted even in the WhatsApp status that as per the SEC filing, 1 minute of business for Amazon is more than $835,000 plus. So if you can imagine, if there is an outage because of a vulnerability for even 60 minutes, how much business is lost. So there's a huge amount of financial losses and harm to the organization's reputation. Now, as you saw, that DevSecOps is a continuous journey. It has to be all through the life cycle. And that's what it is shown here. It has to be there starting from the ideation till we deploy, and we keep on managing. As you know, that Google's philosophy is, as per their last book that they had released in 2020 called Building Secure and Reliable, Reliable and Secure Systems. Their philosophy is a system is not reliable if it is not secure. So if we are talking about reliability engineering, we are talking about secure systems anyway. Now, how do we make sure that we do it? That means everybody has to know about it. Everybody has to own that it is my responsibility to build something secure as a developer, as a tester, as a subject matter expert, as a security expert, as an operations person, network person. So if we look at the third principle of DevOps, the third way, it is about continual experimentation and learning. So the third way encourages a culture that fosters two things: continual experimentation, taking risk, and learning from failure. So we have to try out new ways of doing things. So each one of us have to try out how to make our part of the work secure, and understanding that repetition and practice is prerequisite to mastery. Like Jackie Chan's movie, right? He doesn't eat, drink, make merry for the whole month, practices 3 days and kills the villain. No, he practices every day to improve on his strengths. And that's how he kills it. So we need to allocate time for improvement of daily work. And here the daily work is about improvement of security in our areas. Create rituals that reward the team for taking risk. And that's where we talk about the security chaos engineering. Introducing fault into the system to increase resilience, and plan time for safe experimentation and innovation. And that's where we come to the five values of DevSecOps. It's the same values as DevOps, but here the elements are different. So if you look at culture, you see that for DevSecOps, it is a bit different. All technology teams have accountability for security. Security is everybody's job. All understand the end-to-end system and collaborate regularly to create trust. Automation helps assure security by strategic use of codifying and orchestration and automation of tasks. So people make mistakes, people can do willful sabotage, but if you automate things, chances are much lesser. Lean, security are not a constraint in the value stream, and teams aren't waiting for security activities to happen. Flow is optimized. Measurement, we have to look at cost of breach. We have to look at measuring how much we are doing it. I was talking to Caroline Wong of Cobalt.io, and she was saying that in her organization, they have introduced SNPS, Security Net Promoter Score, and sharing security and software engineers cross skills and collaborate to automate knowledge. So if we look at improving flow, security should not be stopping the flow. It should also help in improving the flow. So it has to be throughout the pipeline. Feedback, we need feedback faster, shorter feedback loop. So security experts don't talk of it at the end of the work is being done. They also do peer reviews at every stage, and continuous experimentation and learning, where we have to learn. Now, that means that we have to have this whole thing together. Now, coming to one more aspect, which is related to the playground, that we have learned that for experimentation and learning, we need a place to practice, which is called dojo, which Target gave the name. But now we have created a similar virtual dojo called Playground, which is the only one available now in the world. And here you can practice these things on a pay-as-you-go model and learn how to do it yourself, and then take it back to your organization to do it. And here we have partnered with Mavericks. And we are not only going to be able to just have this particular webinar, but if you are interested, you can connect to us and we will be able to help you, take you through a package where you can learn the entire process of how to use a ASOC tool and how to do proper DevSecOps in your world. With this, I will hand over to Andy Zulunev from Mavericks.ai. Thank you, Andy, for joining us and giving us your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. and hi everyone. Really happy to share our learnings, our understanding of DevSecOps, and how this type of tool, application security orchestration and correlation, is useful in moving from DevOps to DevSecOps in the most seamless and sort of problem-free fashion. Now, just a quick introduction at a high level. We're talking about application security, orchestration, and correlation, which is a set of tools, which is a tool that integrates application security testing tools together with engineering tools, makes it one, and enables them to operate as integrated DevSecOps platform.
Andy, before going forward, let me quickly ask for the second poll, and which is, so let me share the results of the first one. So we have around 60% saying yes, they know about DevSecOps, and 40% saying no. And now for the second poll, I'll just keep it for a minute, and then you can explain in details before people start saying, everybody saying that they know ISOC. Okay. So anybody else wants to give the poll? Okay, so I'll end the poll here and share the results. What we see is 42% says yes and 58% says no. Yes, Sandy, you can move forward.
Okay, so companies recognize the importance of security and they are implementing various application security testing tools. Here is a list of most important categories of these tools. This is Gartner terminology. So these abbreviations that you see are widely used in the industry, and they were introduced by Gartner. The most used categories are tools like static application security testing, SAST, right? Those tools test how the code is written. And then there is other tools that check whether the open source used in an application has known vulnerabilities. And so open source analysis, software composition analysis, SCA, are the tools that are helping with that. Dynamic application security testing is another very popular and important discipline where the application is fully assembled and tested like a live operating working application. But there is a number of other disciplines and specific tools that are designed for them. And so some of them also are covering infrastructure aspects. So if you look at application hosted in a data center or in the cloud, there is a layer of application, but there is a layer of infrastructure that's used. And vulnerabilities can be collected from both of those domains. Even though the most dynamic part in an application that keeps changing through releases, through sprints, is the application code. And so the DevOps enabled those teams to run this whole release management at an extremely fast speed and do multiple releases in a week or even in a day. And so the question is really, okay, this application security tools can be integrated and run, but can security teams really collect all the needed vulnerabilities in a matter of hours when the new code is released? Can security team analyze those security issues quickly and submit them to developers? And when developers respond and say they have resolved, can security team quickly validate it? And that's where really this a number of challenges that are getting discovered, that it is not that simple. Now, if you look at the traditional release management process and what's called CI/CD automation, where the whole code of an application is taken through the process of code check-in, build, deploy, test, release. Different application security testing tools need to be used at different point of time. We'll need to go back to the previous slide. Yolanda, can you help me maybe move 2 slides back? So when, for example, static application security testing tools should be called when the code is ready and checked in. Pretty much same when open source components are selected and added to a certain branch of the application. And then dynamic application security testing tools need to be called when the application is completely built, let's say in a test environment or pre-production environment. And so these tools need to be called at the different points of time in CI/CD timeline. But it's not that they are just called from CI/CD pipeline. Each of these tools need to be configured for a scan. Each of these tools need to be told that this new version of code, this new application is built in this specific environment. That the information need to be passed to these tools from CI/CD pipeline. And also these tools need to be communicated whether they should do a full scan or a partial scan. And so here we are running into a challenge. CI/CD pipeline is the method of automating a whole assembly of an application by development team, runs extremely fast. But to configure application security tool, you need a manual involvement. And that's the very first challenge that need to be addressed with automation, is configuring AST tools for each scan. Now, as you see, the second challenge is that there are multiple application security testing tools testing different aspects of an application security. And so now each of these tools is collecting those security issues. And so does security team now need to go to each of these tools and review those issues in each of those individual tools? What if these security issues are overlapping and are indicating security issues in one and the same place? So there is a need to correlate it, but with multiple tools, it's very difficult to do. So that's the second challenge that security teams face in such environment with multiple application security testing tools. And then when these security issues are reviewed, the security team needs to select the most important ones and submit them as tasks in defect tracking. And so developers are using their own tools for defect tracking, and those security issues need to be submitted there as tasks. Now, while each of these tools claim they do have integrations with defect tracking tools, but the challenge you run into is that integration will dump all security issues into defect tracking. And so it will overwhelm developers, whereas in reality, you need to have an intermediate staging environment where they are so that security team could really select the ones that need to be fixed and submit only those to development. Okay, so what I just did was I outlined typical challenges that development and security teams discover when they start integrating application security testing tools with CI/CD pipeline, like which runs the whole automation of DevOps, it's not as simple. Now, for the purpose to enable really migration from DevOps environment into DevSecOps environment, where this all required automation is there, this is specific tool category that came up on the market, application security orchestration and correlation tools. It has orchestration, it has correlation, it has intelligence, and Gartner introduced this type of tools about 4 years back in their hype cycle for application security.
You want me to take it forward?
Yeah, I'll probably ask you then to move to the next slide. So what do this tool then do? Tools then do? This ASOC tool is integrating into CI/CD pipeline with a very simple snippet of code. So you just, as an engineer, you added that snippet to the right place within CI/CD pipeline where application security testing need to be called for a specific discipline. Now, that piece of code calls a SOC tool to initiate a scan with a specific product. And so through the orchestration layer that's available here, the ASOC tool passes on all the required information about which code to scan, where is it located, and sort of what should be the configuration of the scan. And so it initiates the scan on itself, but doing that, it actually knows what is being scanned at what point of time, and it will then collect the results of the scan into correlation layer. So that's where correlation is, where ASOC tools have aggregated all the security issues collected from multiple security tools in one place and provide very powerful capabilities for security team to filter out and group those security issues together, select the most important ones among them, and actually use AI to filter out false positives. A big challenge in this space because there is quite a number of security issues that really are false positives and are distracting. Now AI comes and helps to filter them out. The third capability here is intelligence, which provides security team and also development team the insights about security in this whole process. So a development team will want to know, for example, how well they are developing, how many new security issues are they introducing with each sprint. Whereas security team wants to know that the technical debt is getting reduced with each sprint, and managing it. Security team wants to know how quickly they are discovering defects and keep shortening that time. You can move to the next slide. So this slide shows in more details the capabilities of an ASOC tool. At a high level, yes, it is orchestration, correlation, intelligence. Within orchestration, there are integrations with multiple different engineering tools. In fact, ASOC collects quite a lot of information about the environment, and it knows the number of lines of code. It knows where which application is located. So there's multiple integrations available out of the box, and then integrations with security tools, so that security tools can communicate with the ASOC tool, and ASOC tool sort of takes all the rest of the orchestration. Asset management. So automated asset discovery, understanding where the code repositories are, build artifacts, and so all that information about really the source code. And then integration with CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. It's pretty easy integration to implement, but also ability to manage quality gates or security quality gates, where it quickly validates if there are, let's say, any major security vulnerabilities, then the gate will fail and the assembly of an application will not progress. Development team needs to go back and fix those issues before releasing it into production, for example. In the correlation space, in the middle, it is dealing with security issues. It imports all those security issues into one place, gives it as a very easy to work list, gives ability to security team to filter, correlate issues coming from the same parts of the application, and then group them as security defects. And then security defect management is actually a pretty complex capability, because it synchronizes bidirectionally the security defects that are submitted to development. It synchronizes them with the defect tracking system. And then when developers fix those security defects and mark them as fixed, then it synchronizes back that status to an SOC tool and allows security to validate that this security defect is actually fixed. Now, to validate that it's fixed, security needs to know that this security defect has been fixed in a specific version of the code, and it needs to reinitiate security scan and check are those vulnerabilities still there in code, or they are not there anymore. And if they are not there anymore in that code version, only then can security say that, yes, this defect is fixed, and then mark it as confirmed. Now, imagine doing it manually. It will take a lot of time. So really, all of this automation is required to be able to not only quickly determine and identify security defects to pass the most important ones to development for fixes, but also when development team fixes them, to validate and say that, yes, we confirm that the code is actually secure to be released. That also needs to be done quickly. Now, as you see, there is a lot of work happening, and to get that work under control, intelligence is another very important capability. And it pretty much is like a data warehouse about all different things happening in the environment, and ability to do analytics, both on the kind of how many security issues have been introduced in new sprint by the development team, and maybe kind of understand where development team need to be trained, and most importantly for security team to see that security posture of an application is improving from sprint to sprint. And so this metrics become an important other capability of the product. So this indicates all the integrations that application security, orchestration, and correlation enables. It becomes an essential component of CI/CD pipeline, but it does integrate with a variety of software engineering tools out of the box, such as defect tracking systems like Jira, source code repositories like GitHub or others, software artifact repositories, and containers is an important part of the development infrastructure and element of security. So it integrates with tooling that manages containers. And then on application security tool side, for each of these categories, there are separate vendors. Here is a short list of those that Mavericks as a product supports. And obviously, we are adding additional security products to this list. Or if there is a request from the customer, we're able to add any new security tool in a matter of months too. And then kind of on the right side, you see a summary of the metrics that that are important to track as part of this DevSecOps environment and process. I mean, if we go top down, software assets is the sort of information about the environment itself, and then code base inventory. You do need to know how many source code lines of code you actually have in an application. Only having this information, you can create a metric of number of security defects per 1,000 lines of code, which is a very good indicator of how secure this application is. And that's what matters, not just the number of security defects, but really this number of security defects per lines of code. So hence that information needs to be collected. And then software security risk, security technical debt with an aggregated metric of how many security issues are there in total by category as critical, high, medium, low criticality. And then there are metrics like mean vulnerability age, right? So for all of these security issues, you would know when they were detected and how long they are in a production environment, which is an element of exposure. If you have all that security technical debt, those security defects in an application, and they are for months and months in a production environment, that's exposure, and that's a risk. And there are a couple other very important metrics like software risk reduction, sort of vulnerability open rates, for example, per every sprint, how many new vulnerabilities development team is generating. Well, they should be generating none. And if there are some generated, then they need to be analyzed, and development team need to be trained on how to write the secure code. So those metrics help to track whether we are improving overall or not. Very important metrics in DevSecOps speed, mean time to detect and mean time to resolve. What they talk about is the time it takes security team to detect security issues in an application from the time when this code is submitted. And so if this time need to be short, so that when development releases a new code, security team really need to detect all security issues in a matter of hours so that they can be given back to development team to be resolved. And then the next metric comes in is mean time to resolve. When those defects are submitted, they need to be resolved in a matter of hours or days, because a typical sprint is really today probably about a week or 2 weeks in time. And so if new defects are introduced, they need to be very quickly detected and very quickly resolved so that new issues created are resolved in the same sprint and are not getting into production. And then I think there is one more slide here. It's kind of short case studies. These tools are used by big and medium-sized organizations, either enterprises developing applications in-house, or software product companies developing software that is commercially sold on the market and used by enterprises. And so the upper example is an example of a very large European bank that has really over 1,000 application builds and more than 100 application releases per week. It uses quite a number of tools like Nexus Repository, Bitbucket, TeamCity, and then security testing tools, and has a large number of applications, which is about 150 in total across this large bank. And so the process of introducing DevSecOps in an organization was supported by Mavericks. And this Mavericks was implemented initially for several application development teams. And after this whole integration was stabilized and all the needed tools were supported, the product was rolled out to more and more teams within an organization, and it is progressing at a fast speed. So currently, a number of applications reached 50 that are onboarded into DevSecOps setup. And it brought amazing transparency into sort of defect management, and AI is used by people to identify false positives, really make work of security engineers much easier and save time. The other example on the bottom here is a very large logistics company. As you well understand, transporting goods, physical goods, is a very complex process, and it may impact supply chain for different businesses, and so it has to be very secure from attacks. So security is very important in this industry as well, not only in banking. And so this company has over 60 applications. They use GitLab, TestRail, Artifactory, and a number of other tools. More than 50 development teams in this case. And so again, the SOC tool was implemented once for the whole organization. Several teams were enabled, and over a period of several months, we were able to reduce security risk density by 43%. So organization could not only see what security issues are there, but also start improving security posture of an application. So that's an overview from my side, and Niladri, over to you.
Thank you, Andy, and everyone. I apologize for what happened in between. You never know who has registered and joined, so can't help it. So this is a quick snapshot of the playground. Here you have Mavericks, where you can try out application security, orchestration, and correlation. We have DevSecOps if you are trying to implement it, pure DevSecOps. That is also possible to experiment here. We have the continuous, you can say, developer security observability, you can say, with DFactor. We have chaos engineering with Gremlin, value stream management with digital.ai. We are also having threat modeling with Threats Manager Studio, which was created by Simone Curzi. So these are available on the platform playground. So you can come and join here, and on a subscription basis, pay as you go, you can be able to try out these things. We will help you out with experts hypothesizing your problem and then experimenting it. And finally, we have the DevOps India Summit coming up on 26th of August. It's a 12-hour, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Program. Register it in your DevOps India Summit. So with this, we thank you, the participants who have joined and spent their time, and thanks, Andy, for being here. And now we will open it to our participants. If you have any question, please write it on the chat window, and Andy will be answering, or I will be answering if there is anything that you would like us to answer.
I think what people are asking often, Audrey, is whether DevSecOps can be built by an organization sort of themselves, right, through custom integrations. And so that's what some organizations are doing. They are writing scripts, right, to integrate all of the tools together and make them work in a seamless and fast fashion in DevSecOps. But in reality, what it means is that this organization who are doing it in a custom fashion, writing scripts, writing some code, they are building an SOC product. And it took us more than 3 years to build it and then test it in production with multiple customers to develop very complex system that can actually enable this whole process end to end. And so it's very difficult undertaking to do it in-house.
Okay. So Andy, a couple of questions from Somnath Dhar. First question I will answer. Playground is a free facility or paid? It's a paid facility, but pay as you go as long as you are using it. So there will be various packages that you can take. And the second question is to Andy. Can we use the tool for Salesforce?
So it can be, generally speaking, used for Salesforce because this tool is used in any sort of DevOps environment. And so it would just integrate the tools that are relevant for Salesforce. For example, there is a software security product called DigitSec, which is specifically built to do the scan in Salesforce environment. And so those products can be used to detect vulnerabilities in Salesforce customizations, and they can be integrated. That product would be then integrated with a SOC tool to facilitate the whole cycle. So pretty much, yes, the short answer is in any environment it can be used.
Any other questions from anyone? We have 4 minutes, but and if there is any question, great. If there is no question, then I think we are done for today. And thanks everyone again for being with us. And this recording will be there, obviously without the disturbance part of it.
Yeah, there is one question there just popped up.
Yes, yes.
Any vulnerability?
Have any vulnerability scanning tool like check marks?
It's probably a question to you now.
Yeah.
So
Somnath, if I understand correctly, the ASOC, if you are asking about the ASOC tool is orchestrating the various different widely used products or various scanning and security related tools that are available in the market. So
yeah, and we do have check marks in that Mavericks environment. So that's one of the tools available there. So you will be able to see how checkmarks integrates with the SOC. This environment is not to train on checkmarks specifically, but this environment is great to understand how checkmarks can be integrated into DevSecOps properly using a SOC tool. So that's what this environment is for, and checkmarks is one of the products available in that environment. So the Okay, there is one more question. You're having only orchestration tool, not any SaaS tool. No, so to demonstrate a SOC tool, you actually need to have application security testing tools. And so we selected 5 products in the environment that are available. Most of them are commercial tools, and then some open source. So, and we may expand this number. So essentially, the most important disciplines in DevSecOps are, like I said earlier, SAST, SCA, dynamic application security testing tools. And so we have products that do that testing, and then they are integrated in this environment within a SOC tool so that you can experience it end to end. I think we're on the top of the hour, so thanks a lot for these questions. Really happy to connect. And Nilandri, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. So we will close it here. And once the recording is on, then you will get to know through a mail.